It's some 32 minutes after 7. Our guests are seated. Member of Parliament for Ayawaso West Wagon, Emmanuel Chiremating Ejakon, is here, and also Member of Parliament.
You pronounced it so well.
Yeah, I practiced. Member of Parliament for Dododio Nilante Vanderpoel is also here. Good morning, gentlemen. Good to have you. It's been a while.
Yeah. You abandoned us for a week.
Was it a week?
I thought it was more than that, but it's good that you're here. Let's start off from home. We know that Parliament is on recess, but yesterday we got a press statement. But first, we received a release from the Speaker of Parliament asking that you return. And here's, I'm just going to read what was signed by the Speaker of Parliament. And this is it. In exercise of the power conferred on the Speaker by Order 423 of the Standing Orders of the Parliament of Ghana, I, Right Honourable Professor Aaron Michael Okwe, Speaker of Parliament, do hereby direct that Parliament shall, notwithstanding anything to the contrary, be recalled from the recess to sit from Thursday, the 26th day of April to Friday, the 27th day of April 2018 at 10 o'clock in the forenoon each day at Parliament House, Accra, to consider some urgent parliamentary business. Dated in the office of the Speaker of Parliament, Accra, Ghana, this 23rd day of April 2018. And later in the day, we would also receive this press release signed by Kate Addo, Acting Director, Public Affairs Department, Parliament of Ghana, which reads, the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Aaron Michael Okwe, has recalled the House to sit on Thursday and Friday, the 26th and 27th of April 2018. The principal purpose is for the urgent consideration and ratification of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreements. Ghana is hoping to host the Secretariat of the Africa Free Trade Organization. Other agreements will also be considered. All honorable members are entreated to attend upon the House for the 2-day recall. So this is it. You're going back to Parliament, but let's speak to the Acting Director of Public Affairs, Parliament House. Madam Kate Addo is joining us via phone. Let's see if we can find, beyond what is contained in the statement, other things that our MPs will be doing. So, Madam, good morning. Thank you for your time on the show.
Hi, good morning, Mama. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I hope you're doing well, too.
I am doing well.
Nice. So I've just read your statement, but beyond what is contained in there, what else will our MPs be doing for the 2 days?
I am not sure what else will be happening during the 2-day recall. The main reason we are meeting is for the consideration and ratification of the agreements like you read in our statement. And basically, that's why we are going to meet. Obviously, it will be referred to a committee, and the committee will work on it and present the report to plenary afterwards. It is hoped that the agreement will be ratified, and that's why we are going to be sitting for 2 days. If anything should come up during the course of our parliamentary business, that too will be dealt with. But for now, the principal reason we are going to be meeting on Thursday and Friday is for the consideration and ratification of the agreement.
And this couldn't wait till after recess?
I mean, there are time limits on these things, and that's why Parliament had to reconvene, especially since we are hoping to get the Secretariat sited in Accra. It's important that we show a lot of interest and action in the process, and that's why Parliament had to be recalled for that purpose.
These recalls, we know, do come with some costs and some inconvenience. How are MPs going to be compensated duly?
Usually when MPs are recalled, they are giving transportation allowance to their various constituencies. So the same basic rate is what will apply, nothing extraordinary.
And if you're holidaying outside the country, or if you're doing other businesses outside the jurisdiction, what happens?
It's assumed that when Parliament goes on recess, members go to their constituency because work will still be going on. The only transportation that is paid is to your constituency. But the thing is that once you sign up to be a member of Parliament, you sign up to be at Parliament when you are called. So
Okay. All right. We'll leave it here. Thank you very much. Kate Adder is Acting Director, Public Affairs, Parliament House, Accra. Okay. So, gentlemen, you're going back on on Thursday and Friday. Beyond what is here, ratification of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. May I say that I'm sure because of the announcement, you've heard about this.
Well, thank you very much, Omavi, and let me say good morning to my big brother and also to all my constituents and the viewers out there. Initially, I didn't know about the reason for the recall, but from a statement released by the Public Affairs Department of Parliament, I've got to know. In fact, this is an agreement that I was privileged to have sat in cabinet for it to be discussed. It was worked on by Hannah Tete and also Spio Gabra, then as Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade, respectively. Ghana was privileged to have been given the option to host the headquarters, and there are timelines to it. So if now things have been worked out and it is due for us, this is not the only agreement possibly we'll be facing in order to elevate the status of Ghana as far as international trade is concerned. We are also looking at possibly hosting the hub, being the hub center of the West Africa Marine Center. We want to have a new shipping line for West Africa, just as we have an airline, the ASKI airline for West Africa. We lost out on the possibility of hosting the headquarters of EcoBank, for example, when it was started. And I said, Ghana doesn't want to lose an opportunity of hosting, because when you host these headquarters, it brings in its wake a lot of good prospects for your country. And I said, this is a good thing that I believe, and I'm happy the government has continued with the negotiations that was started by the old administration, the Mahama administration, and they even be able to finalize it for us to have. For this reason, I think I will urge all parliamentarians to do Ghana a duty to respond to the call and come in. If it had been any other call, any other suspicious call, maybe I wouldn't.
I was like, you have recalled Parliament before as minority.
So
as majority.
Then as majority. Maybe as minority.
No, even as minority.
We have recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
was it a suspicious call?
The cash for seats.
Was it a suspicious call?
Yes. But this one, I think it's inherent to the benefit of Ghana, our economy, our trade, and everything. I think it is important that we respond to the call. What I would say sometimes is the fact that such calls sometimes inconveniences us, because you are given a notice. Virtually, some people will get a notice today because it was released late yesterday. And
but Kate said it. You sign up for this.
Yeah, but you see,
you're a member of Parliament.
See, that doesn't mean that MPs are robots. That because they sign up for something, immediately you push them, they should be going. MPs have drawn up programs in their constituencies, and I said, if such calls should at least give the MPs adequate time to wind up or to prepare and come down. Because
so what adequate time means? Because if this was issued Tuesday,
I think at least by 3 days is enough for them to get to Accra. But this one is supposed to be just within 24 hours. If the person gets a notice today, it means that he has only tomorrow to prepare, and Thursday he should be in Parliament. And the inconvenience even goes beyond just the coming down. At the end of it, when you are going back, the transportation that is paid. So for us in Accra, 100 cedis. What will 100 cedis do?
Oh, by
paying for my fuel,
constituency,
paying
you
for my
even
fuel
walk to Parliament.
in and out.
From where Odododio is in Parliament House?
Somebody from Savulugu or some other place, sometimes the amount of money they are given is not enough to pay for even one, let me say, to pay for even coming down to Accra, let alone be able to get a person back after the emergency meeting to the constituencies. So I think we as a group, we must look at that issue. People think that...
I think you must look at the allowances that you take and increment possibly.
Not for me, as you said, not for me, but something I feel for our colleagues who come from other difficult, accessible areas, like Salaga, like Yakaba Kubori, Pusiga.
But you are MPs, places. You have so many privileges. So this is just a little inconvenience, and it happens once in a while. Mr. Jaco.
Well, thank you for having me. Good morning to you and to my very dear friend Yolande. Good to see you. Good morning to viewers. I think that I want to believe that there is always a good reason to want the Speaker to recall Parliament. In this particular case, indeed, yesterday I put up on my caucus platform inquiring the reason for the recall, but this morning it is clear that there is some ratification to be done. I think that the biggest challenge we have as African people is that we are not able to connect amongst ourselves. We are not able to trade, we are not able to travel, we are not able to...
Isn't it because it's more expensive to trade amongst ourselves than if we were trading
why should it be more
Europeans?
expensive to trade amongst ourselves? I mean...
There's so many barriers.
Yeah, so why the barriers? So it is, and all of it, when you say barrier, a barrier is always artificial, it is created. It is man-made, it is not natural. Okay. I mean, why should we transport cocoa all the way to Japan and we are not able to transport it to next door if they do need cocoa? Or let's talk about finished products. Okay. That is, until and unless we do this, I think that we will not do too well as a continent. So if there is an opportunity to legislate on anything that will improve trade in the continent, I think that we should all support it and hope that it will not just be another document that we have gone and ratified and it begins to accumulate dust. As African people, we must begin to do things amongst ourselves and improve the life of our people. I'm happy to be in Parliament on Thursday, God willing, Thursday and Friday, God willing, to be part of this.
Okay.
I want to believe it should be momentous. We must begin to do things amongst ourselves as African people.
Okay.
You see, Mama, let me add.
The other point about inconvenience and all of this, yeah, sometimes I think it is inconvenient. You're asking, and it's worth asking. I think that we're going to actually resume. Parliament was in May, on the middle of May.
Second week in May.
Second week in May. But I want to believe that there's a timeline to this.
Okay.
Okay, so it is okay. I mean, anytime you are asked, I think that nobody came and begged him or me to become members of Parliament. We put up ourselves to become public servants, to serve the people. So sometimes the issues of inconvenience becomes secondary. We have taken it upon ourselves to serve the good people of this country, so we must bear some of the consequences.
Okay, you quickly wanted to say something?
On what my brother said, it's true, and you really put it in that we created barriers. Over the period, we've talked about very important that we should have free movement of people, goods and services along our coast of West Africa. It is much more easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for you to move from Accra to Lagos.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very annoying and so frustrating at the borders. Even when you have legal document, that's even when you are delayed more. Those who don't have, easily just pay their way through. And this is serious. Look, we're supposed to create the common tariff regime so that it will ease cost of doing business in West Africa. For example, if we are able to synchronize our tariffs, then commodities will have almost the same price, relatively. So there won't be the need for us to smuggle things to Togo and Togo to smuggle things to Ghana. All these things we thought that we would have done, but Ghanaian and other West African counterparts have been talking about this. There have been seminars, workshops across our borders for years. I know we're talking about the common tariff system, common tariff agreement, close to 15 years now. Our customs officers, our revenue authorities and other have been talking about ministers of trade and having meetings almost every year on this issue. Nothing is done. Recently, they talk about the Common West Africa driving license and also road. But if you are driving,
even the echo, the currency,
the common currency, you know, all these. I think the difficulty we are having is allowing our political, let me say, colonial overlords, the French and also the English, sometimes to meddle too much in our local and domestic issues.
And on that note, I have to, you know, cut through. Apologies. We have to move on to the next issue, but also to work on your microphone. Now, there seems to be some subtle pressure being put on African president to play or to place gay rights on the front line. In recent times, almost every international journalist who gets the opportunity to speak to an African president brings the subject up. We're going to do a recall, if you like, but first, we know that last week our heads, and indeed our own president, President Akufo-Addo, attended the Commonwealth Heads of Government meetings where we had different leaders address those leaders that had gathered. But this is what is making waves in Ghana. Theresa May and the comments that she made. I want us to listen first of all to the UK Prime Minister, Theresa May.
As a family of nations, we must respect one another's cultures and traditions, but we must do so in a manner consistent with our common value of equality, a value that is clearly stated in the Commonwealth Charter. Across the world, discriminatory laws made many years ago continue to affect the lives of many people, criminalizing same-sex relations and failing to protect women and girls. I am all too aware that these laws were often put in place by my own country. They were wrong then, and they are wrong now. Nobody should face persecution or discrimination because of who they are or who they love. And the UK stands ready to support any Commonwealth member wanting to reform outdated legislation that makes such discrimination possible. Because the world has changed.
Okay, has the world changed to the extent that our parliament is not functional any longer, that we need help from the UK to change around our laws? But let's also bring you excerpts of such interviews where international media, every opportunity they get with our leaders in Africa, they want to ask this question. The CNN's Amampo with Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta, followed by the CNN's Richard Quest with Zimbabwe's President, and then Al Jazeera's Jane Dutton with our own President Akufo-Addo.
One of the major issues, and it's a holdover from sort of colonial Victorian, is the issue of sexual preference in many African countries. In Kenya, to be gay, the LGBT community is illegal. They just want to have equal rights, the same privacy and equality as all other Kenyans do. Is that something that you aspire to for your country?
I want to be very clear, Christiana. I will not engage in a subject that is of no, it is not of any major importance to the people and the Republic of Kenya. This is not an issue as you would want to put it. It's a very
You're going to get yourself into trouble. Because what you've categorically just stated is that this is not an issue for us, for the Kenyan people, yes. And you don't think that the idea of their privacy, their equality, their rights is important. But it's a global issue right now.
It's important to them where they are.
Why is it
I am saying
to you
that it
as
is
president
not
of the country?
Important to me as the leader of 49 million Kenyans.
Same-sex rights, never mind same-sex marriage or anything like that that might be in the future. For want of a better word, gay rights, the overturning of laws against homosexuality. Can you promise me today that you will do that?
I'm a constitutionalist. The current provision in the Constitution forbids same-sex marriages and uphold that until that issue in our country is not an issue of the political party.
Not same-sex marriage. I'm talking about same-sex relationships. Never mind, we can put marriage to side. I'm talking about same sexual activity.
In our current constitution, it is banned.
Are you going to lead a campaign?
No, I will not lead a campaign.
Why not?
Those people who want that are the people who must canvass for such things, so that if they are able to win majority in amending the constitution, they would amend it. But it's not my duty on that issue to say I want to campaign for this. No.
Homosexuality, for example, which I believe is illegal and it's punishable. I mean, why is homosexuality still illegal in your country?
These the social, cultural issues, if you like. I don't believe that in Ghana so far a sufficiently strong coalition has emerged which is having that impact on public opinion that will say, change it. Let's then have a new paradigm in Ghana.
Is that something you would get behind?
I think that it is something that is bound to happen. And when that happens...
What's going to provoke it? What's going to make it happen?
Oh, it's the activity, like elsewhere in the world. Like elsewhere in the world, the activities of individuals, of groups. I grew up in England. I went to school as a young boy in England, and I grew up at a time in England when homosexuality was banned there. It was illegal, and I lived a period when British politicians thought it was anathema even to think about changing the law, and then suddenly the activities of individuals, of groups, a certain awareness, a certain development grew and grew and grew stronger, and it forced a change in law.
Do you think that by signing the bill, you're taking Uganda backwards?
Not at all, not at all. Uganda is where it has always been. The Uganda have never supported our society since time immemorial, have never supported homosexuals.
What is your message to Western human rights groups, to President Obama, to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people?
Respect African societies and their values. If you don't agree, you just keep quiet. Let's manage our society the way we see. If we are wrong, we shall find out by ourselves. Just the way we don't interfere with yours.
Do you personally dislike homosexuals?
Of course, they are disgusting. What sort of people are they? How can you go? I never knew what they were doing. That's how I've been told recently that what they do is terrible, disgusting. But I was ready to ignore that if there was proof that that's how he's born, abnormal. But now the proof is not there.
And that's Zain Virgida, CNN's Zain Virgida, speaking to Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni, saying it just as he wanted to. But we've got two of our parliamentarians here. Perhaps they need help with a change in legislation. We need to put something, we need to be emphatic on this. The British kind of blaming themselves for what we have in our books today. I will throw it to you. You've heard a lot already. So where do we begin?
Well,
we need help?
I don't think we need help. And I choose my words advisedly, if we ever think that we want to change something, we are very capable by ourselves. And I use my words and underscore if. I don't know when that if will come. Maybe 200 years from now, if. But really, I mean, I think that it is patronizing, frankly. I am sitting here and watching them speak to our own presidents. They speak to President Mnangagwa in Zimbabwe. They speak to President Museveni in Uganda, and there's a fourth one.
Uhuru Kenyatta.
Uhuru Kenyatta. I think that, Mama V, you should also go and interview the British Prime Minister and find out when they will allow polygamy to be. I mean, you talk about human rights. What are human rights? I think that all of it is bound in a certain socio-cultural context. If you take away that socio-cultural context, it does not work. I mean, the right of a a man to sleep with a man is not more than a right of a man to marry 4 wives. But they won't allow it. If you go and do it, they'll tell you bigamy and they'll put you in prison. I mean, I frankly, I think they are being unfair to us as a people. Your context is entirely different from our context. And if you want to use the Judo-Christian religious influence that they brought to us, then I would say that the Bible says unequivocally that homosexuality is wrong. Even
Quran says it.
I'm not sure. I never read it.
Quran says
I never read it. So
in fact, Quran abhors it totally. In fact,
understand?
Quran even
the Bible, parts of it to a very large extent, admits that you can in the Old Testament, probably in the New Testament, it is not so. But it permitted polygamy. Why are they not going back to that? Why? I mean, why should some people's sociocultural context become our sociocultural context?
Perhaps
I think it is patronizing and it is not right.
Perhaps we give them a reason to, because we always run to them. And they say it with some impunity. I mean, with journalists questioning our leaders in that form.
All of us as political leaders must take the cue. If you are able to take care of yourself, you will not go to somebody to go and beg for money or borrow money, and then he will tell you what he doesn't have to tell you. All of us as leaders must really do something. I feel offended, I must say. I really and truly feel offended. Why? I mean, what is it? What is it?
Van der Poy, do you feel offended by this?
Let me say, to use the word offended is even an understatement. And I totally share the sentiments of my brother as expressed vigorously and aggressively. This takes me to the days of Robert Mugabe, when he stood at the United Nations and told the UK that take your United Kingdom and let me take my Zimbabwe. I think from all the statements we heard, especially from Yoweri Museveni, simply telling these neo-colonial leaders that they should keep to their sociocultural and political environment and let us keep ours. This idea of pushing us aggressively, virtually swarming us into accepting a particular norm and practice that is alien to us, that is abominable to us, is totally offensive, is insulting and manipulative. And I think that it is high time we show it clearly in our words, in our actions, that we totally are disgruntled with this and we are not ready to accept this immoral, suppression.
But to be fair, where did we get our laws from? Where is everything coming from? Is it not right that they blame themselves for what we have in our books today?
I don't even want to believe what he said, that this was... Yes, the colonial government at that time saw that this is part of our social cultural norm, which we were against. So they tried and to it, and they tried because our laws really flew out of their laws. Mm-hmm. So by deed and practice, they saw that it conforms with our social cultural values and accepted it. It is for us. It's our laws. We are not under any jurisdiction now. We have a sovereign state. We have our own constitution. We have our own laws. We have our own regulations. We have all. So they should allow us. What we are saying here is that this is something that is abominable to us. It's against our sociocultural values, and we are not ready to accept it. They should not tell us that they made mistake. Like my brother is saying, when they came, we were practicing polygamy, and they decided that by their own laws, they were outlawing it. But because it is part of our sociocultural values, still some of our people practice it, and they don't see it as anything wrong. So if they think that certain things over the years have become part of dynamics of society and has to be looked at. Like he said, they should first adopt that, and then we will see that they are being responsive to our needs, and so can tell us what we need. They are not the ones to provide prescriptions for our own diseases, and this. We know what is wrong with us, and we know what is right with for us, and they cannot tell us what to do. And I get like my brother said, so that I get offended when this, because I've been in 7 situations with this bull, and I can tell you, but for the environment, some of them are empty heads.
I don't know about that one.
So which people exactly
so
are you referring to at this point?
They should stop thinking for us.
I don't know about that.
I'm telling you.
But really,
I was in a course. I was in a course with a lot of them, a lot of some, you know. And when you look at them, the level of their thinking, and you say, this people, are they really? And it's because we ourselves have always continued to think that anything white is good, anything black is bad, and they are more intelligent than us. Because who is that woman to be standing there and be telling our president what to do in Ghana? What is her level?
So some of the journalists asking for promises, and some people saying,
will you asking them, will you asking the president,
will you promise me?
Will you promise me? Who are you? Who are you? You even say, what are you as a country going to do? Asking him, promising.
So I get the feeling that, you know, largely, most of us are on the same page in terms of how we feel. But how do we stop this? Because it looks like either we're not saying something emphatic, we're not making an emphatic move. They still see us as a bunch of people who need support, who need help. They want to open our eyes to something that we're not appreciating. How do we put an end to this?
Mama, I even will say that if a whole Commonwealth meeting will be organized for such a very trivial and useless issue to be discussed, then I don't see the need of the Commonwealth. But I would say that maybe that was only what Theresa May thought was very important to her and to her government. But you see, it is not only this. You remember when our president finished with the Al Jazeera interview and he came back? There were so many attempts to virtually continue to influence and to fester. All the heads of state that followed visited within that month are people who have been championing this in their various jurisdictions. France, Liechtenstein, Italy, and all. These are people who are known to be champions and advocates for LGBTQs. And I said, why? If the man has made a statement already, why do you follow up trying to still push and push and push? So I think that.
So how do we stop
it? We have not been.
How do we stop it?
Yeah. How do we stop them from intruding, from interfering, from thinking that?
I think our heads of
we
state.
are not complete.
Our heads of state were clear in their statements. Uhuru Kenyatta, for example, Yoweri Museveni, for example, were very, very emphatic in that statement. To a large extent, Mnangagwa and also Nana Addo, talking about there's not been strong advocacy. So I'm saying that to some extent, yes, I think Uhuru Kenyatta and Yoweri Museveni were very strong in their statement. And what is left for us is the anti-gay and anti-LGBT groups in this country must also stand up and tell that this is something that is over, and we're not going to even give a platform for discussion anymore.
Okay.
We should be strong enough in our district and tell people, and this is time our religious organizations, it's time our, let me say, these other groups come out strongly and tell the whole world that this subject will never come for discussion in our country any point in time. So please, can you forget it? Keep it to yourself. And don't bring it up again because we don't want to talk about it.
Okay, I want to give the last opportunity to you, Mr. Jacob. But before that, we have the chairman of the Church of Pentecost, Apostle Professor Opoku Onyina, commenting on this issue. Okay, we don't have that, so let's finish off.
I think the point is forcefully made. I can't. I personally don't know the extent to which this thing is here. I don't know. I don't know whether.
But are you open to knowing? I mean,
look, Mama B, I don't really care about what people do behind their doors. When they get into a room and they close their door, what they do,
it's none of your business.
It's none of my business. But I don't think that it is right. Even if it was an internal matter that was gathering momentum, if it was an internal matter, I think this is the point the president made. If it was an internal matter, if they are bold enough, they should come to circle and demonstrate that we want this. You understand? But why should it be some president or prime minister somewhere who is talking about something? If there is an internal groundswell that this is what we want to do, if the people who practice whatever are bold enough to say that we are a significant minority and we want to do this, let you come.
Is Parliament open? Your parliamentarians?
I say if they are bold enough.
If they marched to Parliament, for instance.
Well, but nobody will beat them. Nobody will use cannons on them. No. I say if they are bold enough. In some of the jurisdictions, I have been to New York once, and I needed to walk because that was a huge rally. Okay. They decided to do it. It is their right. Okay. But I say the problem I have is if it was an internal groundswell. You know, I asked you, is it extensive? Is it a widely practiced
You are
thing?
the representatives of the people.
I don't know.
We don't see it in our conferences.
I don't know. I say if the people are here and they want they thought that the agreement that was ratified in Parliament was wrong. They've done one demonstration in Accra. I hear that
they did in Tamale, yes.
I hear that they have done another demonstration in Tamale. Even some people did a demonstration in the UK. They should also do a demonstration or something and let it be expressed. I mean, I am saying that if they think that there is cause, let them present their
Will they be safe? Will they be safe?
Who will beat them?
Will they be safe?
Who will beat them?
Their own families.
Oh, come on.
You see,
we have to wrap up on this issue.
Mama, you see, even what sometimes worries me is that even in those jurisdictions, those who obviously practice those things sometimes are reluctant to make the public know that this is what their sexual preferences are. I'm telling you, it took Anderson Cooper a long time to make this thing open. Some of them are in sports. They are even reluctant to even let their mates and their colleagues in the football teams, in the soccer teams, and all to know their sexual preferences. They, even in their own environment, they are not confident to come out and let the whole world know this is what we do.
So, I wanted to, leave a little time for us to comment on the number of persons that the president, in quotes, has hired. It's been that as you go back, maybe not with this 2 days on Thursday, conversation has been, do we put a cap on the number of people that the president hires?
Well, this is a demand that has been made by the leader of the minority for quite some time. Even in the last session before we adjourned, before we went on a recess, he raised it, we came back, he raised it again. And the president has rightly complied with the constitutional
But the minority leaked the list, though. Because
the list was published by government.
I think it's a public document.
Yeah, it's a public document.
So
I think it's a public
so
document.
that is not an issue.
No.
Okay.
The issue has to do with the insistence on the part of Haruna Idrisu that the president must comply with the provisions, and the president has done so. I think the issue has to do with virtually the numbers. And let me say this, in as much as I am not too, let me say, fixated with the issue of, should I say, complying with the constitutional provision, I was totally shocked. I was totally shocked at the number. I was shocked at the number. And I know a lot of my colleagues yesterday when I was in Parliament House, you know, in our friendship mood, a lot of them they didn't want to believe the numbers. And some of
your friends on the other side,
yes,
you mean the MPP?
They don't want to believe it. They are not sure. They said no, maybe there are mistakes in the in the this thing. They don't want to believe it. And some of them even do not know that some of their constituents are even working at the Jubilee House. They don't know. They don't even know that they are constituents. So I think that
I don't know about that.
I think that I know. I talked to about 2-3 MPs who
names
have Oh, no, I wouldn't. No, it will not be right. Our political environment has not reached a situation where my colleague here can stand and say that yes, I'm a member of the majority, but this is what it's not getting to that place. We are waiting for the time when we can have our own voting, and then it can come up and somebody can stand and say yes, I voted for this because even though I'm part of government, I'm against it. The number is overwhelmingly unpopular. Almost.
But it was same with Mohammed's numbers as well.
What was Mohammed's
this is like a ritual.
No, it's never.
I mean, the conversation comes up
let me
each
tell you,
time.
Jerry
Rollins
had 540. President Kufuor had 692. John Mama has 678. And then this one is 998. After we've even been able to get about 6 more names, which were not on the list, but we know they work at the presidency and they take salary.
But you're not in this government, so how do you include names of people that have not been included on that list?
We've done due diligence. We'll be able to prove.
So you know that they are being paid?
Yes, we know they are being paid. But their names were not on the list which was released. And I said, so up to now, the list has gone beyond 1,000.
Has it?
Yes, it's gone beyond 1,000. For example, I can mention a name to you, Nita Gotego, for example. We know he's at the presidency.
What does he do?
He's in charge of, what do you call it, social media. You know. But
it's paid from government coffers.
Yes, but his name...
He's not working for an individual at the presidency?
No. And then we've also been able to identify 1 or 2 people who work at the office of the senior minister. And no. We said it because when the budget was read, we saw a figure that had been put there. And we thought that is too huge an amount for the office of the president. And I said, we thought that maybe there is a... But then, if you look at the Appendix 7 of the 2018 budget, for example, yes, it's been stated that the figure is even going to go beyond 998. It's stated clearly that it's going to go beyond 1,200 and something. Okay. And so the agitation or the call for the fact that there must be an amendment to the ceiling and the capping of normal people who can be employed at the presidency is a very important nationalistic call. Okay. I think all of us as a country must respond to that call and make sure that our presidents and our presidency is a bit more responsible by giving a number within which they should be able to work with. Maybe not the law can say not beyond this number. Looking at the average of all the governments we've had under the Fourth Republic now, we can say that this figure should not be superseded. So that when you are appointing people, you know the specific areas that you need to appoint.
Okay. Mr. Jacko, there's a quote by Emmanuel Akwete, who is the Executive Director of the Institute of Democratic Governance, who was on PM Express yesterday here on JoyNews. It is not, this is the quote, it is not the quantity, but the quality of people and their tested ability to deliver what he wants. That's the president's. If we have 1,000 people and we can also prove that the quality of the work they do generates much more than they spend on them, then we can say it's worth it. But if not, then exactly what are they doing?
I think this is most appropriately put. For me, this hullabaloo about numbers and all of this is neither here nor there. Look, the first thing I want to say is that in this country, we have a huge problem with the public and civil service. I think it is said that the ratio, there must be an international best practice that will calculate, that will estimate how many civil servants you need per population. Definitely, our figure is a little too high. So, ab initio, we probably have too many people working in the public service. Number one. In this list, it is said that there are 706 public servants. What we need to do is to do a trend analysis over the period. Now, I hear him saying during Jerry Rawlings's time, what was the size of the public service? If you extrapolate the size to today, and let us find out the size of the public service then, and the size of the public service today, and let us do an extrapolation. I am certain in my mind that you will find out that this 706 is even a lower figure. Number one. Number two, my dear friend here is sitting down and talking about during John Mahama. The last time he gave was 2014, 2015 and 2016. What were the figures?
Go check. This never gone beyond the...
What were the figures? The last I heard, in 2015 or so, 2015 or 2016, it was maybe 4 short of 900.
It's never
I say these are facts. Sometimes you journalists must lead the process, not the politicians.
I'm going to cross-check
from the Hansard. Check from the Hansard.
Ask, indeed, I state on record that in 2015 and 2016, the president failed to do his duty, to perform the constitutional duty. He did not bring the list to Parliament.
And you didn't demand it. So you also failed your constituency.
It is he who must bring it.
But are we sure that some of these people are not repeating the work of the civil servants?
You see,
check the list.
The point I am making is this. I don't mind if we begin to say, you can't use exact figures, but if we begin to say that anybody who occupies the Jubilee House, the political appointees, must be a certain ratio, I don't mind. This president decided that to fulfill the promises he made to the good people of this country, decided that he will have some ministers to do some things for him. Okay. And if you appoint somebody to be responsible for inner city and Zongo development, you just don't appoint him and say, go away. I know somebody who was a chief director in one ministry and has moved to join him. I am certain in my mind that if we do inner city and Zongo, inner city renewal and Zongo development well, give another 10 years, give another 20 years, it will be said that it was one of the best things that happened to this country. Ministry of Planning. I know people who have moved from Ministry of Finance and are in
so this is justified, I guess.
As for me, I can justify what has happened.
Okay. All right.
We
have to leave the conversation here.
Dr. Quentin was apt.
If you didn't see the sarcasm in his what in the
no, what is the sarcasm?
Look at the people, and look at their job functions, and look at their qualifications.
No, he said it is. Look, let's not talk about qualifications. He says delivery. The issue is about delivery.
What functions,
are we delivering?
What functions
yes, we are delivering.
What functions are delivering?
Are you delivering?
Wait, what?
Okay.
Look at all the indices.
Mama,
I think next week,
what functions are the lady in waiting? What functions does she play?
As when Madame Lodina didn't have ladies in waiting.
And that is where we have to end our conversation.
Lodina never used the
thank you, gentlemen, for coming through. We will see you in Parliament on Thursday, on Friday. But there's a new tunnel to link East Legon to Spintek.
Mahama Legacy.
Who says?
Mahama Legacy.
You tickle
Mahama Legacy.
Tickle yourself.
It's been open to traffic. Maxwell Agwagwa is there, and he joins us now.
Please.
As the debate continues, let's go to Maxwell Agwagwa.
I was there when the sword was cut. John Mama cut the sword.
Where?
Have you forgotten?
Oh, come on.
At Flower Pot.
What he did,
At
what he's doing is that he was attempting to build a flyover.
Please, at Flower Pot.
My friend, don't get
I was
into
there when the
something
sword
you
was
don't
cut. Mama legacy.
know. Don't get.